Hi, in this video we will download and install the Android Studio application. I'll start by opening a web browser and search for Android Studio download on Google. The first link on the results page is the one that points us to the Android Studio download page. Next we click on the green button labeled Download Android Studio for Windows. We accept the license agreement and we click on the Download Android Studio for Windows button. While this is downloading, we are presented with the necessary steps to set up Android Studio on Windows. We can see that Android Studio requires the java_home environment variable to be present in our system. We set up this variable in a previous lesson when we installed Java JDK. As soon as the download has completed, we will click on it in order to start the installer. The setup process has started and this will guide us through the installation of Android Studio. We'll start by clicking Next. Then we get to choose the components that we want to be installed. By default, the following components will be installed: Android Studio, which is the main application, Android SDK or Android Software Development Kit that we will use to develop Android applications, an Android virtual device or emulator which we will use to test our applications, and the Intel accelerator for the emulator or Haxam. You can choose to skip the installation of any of the components except for the Android Studio, which is the main application. I'll stick with the default options here and will click Next. Then we get the option to change the location for the Android Studio installation, which requires at least 500 MB of free space, and the location for the Android Studio SDK, which requires 3.2 GB of space. I will again leave the default options here and will click Next, but feel free to change these locations if you want to. In the next step, you can change the maximum amount of RAM available for Android emulators. In my case, the recommended value is 2 GB. I'll keep the recommended settings and again will click Next. In the final step, we can change the Start menu folder that will keep our program's shortcuts. I'll leave this as Android Studio and will click Install. The installation process has started and this could take some time. After the installation has completed, I leave the Start Android Studio option checked and will click Finish. At first run, Android Studio gives you the chance to import the settings from a previous version. I don't have a previous version installed, so I will stick with the second option and will click OK. Next, the setup wizard will download and extract the required components from the internet, like the Android SDK, some Android SDK packages, and the emulator. This process could also take some time, depending on your internet connection speed. During installation, Android Studio creates an Android virtual device or emulator that we can use to test our applications. The last step of the setup wizard displays a log of the whole setup process. By pressing the Finish button, we will finally launch the Android Studio application. So, in this video, we downloaded and installed the Android Studio application for Windows. Thanks for watching and see you soon.